in the summer of 2025 last year, how he was on a string of really good races. Felt like it was only a matter of time, but there at the end, he actually kind of like I feel like he didn't really appear as much up at the front. And obviously, after you saw Ty Gibbs win at Bristol, people were questioning when he was going to get his first career win. And people like to compare this guy to Earnhardt for some reason. And of course, because of that, of course, he got his first win at Talladega. But guys, what do you think of Carson Hocevar's big win at Talladega?
It's a good thing all around. It's good. It's great for the sport. The sport's getting a lot more attention right now. He's a very polarizing figure right now for NASCAR. He's good for both NASCAR fans and fans outside of NASCAR. It's overall a good week for NASCAR. I know the racing product, especially for the Cup Series, probably was not the best, but with the winner, with all it could have been, I feel like NASCAR is in a really good spot with Carson Hocevar getting his first win, especially at Talladega, being this huge. Now, he's never really been a super speedway guy. Like, I personally thought, like, if he was going to get his first career win, it could have been at, like, Nashville or high speed mile and a half like Kansas or possibly even Michigan. He was really good there last year. So I was kind of surprised it ended up being Talladega because look at his stat. He's not terrible here. He's not terrible on plate tracks. He's actually really good at Atlanta, but he wasn't terrible at Talladega, but he wasn't super outstanding here either. But he got the win and had a really awesome celebration to go with it.
Yeah, I think the amount of publicity this is going to get just based on what Hocevar done post-race in his celebration is going to get eyes on the sports. And, there's always going to be that negative effect on what he done, and there's people going to be out there, and there's going to be critics. But this guy's a likable guy. And that there is so many people out there that was probably on the fence about this guy. Is he going to be somebody that I can root for? Is he going to be somebody that's just a menace to the field? But he's really reeled everything in here in the recent time frame, which he's still new to the Cup Series. But he won his first truck race and, kind of rough fashion there. He wrecked the win. And, I mean, for me and some of these older fans, he's going to draw some attention. He's going to be able to pull that fan base in because of his likability. And I think that's good for the sport. That's good to bring back in your older fans that might have been a fan of a Tony Stewart, Harvick, maybe Earnhardt, people like that, Darrell Waltrip. They may be able to relate to this guy a little bit. And that's really what's going to take the sport into the next level because excuse me, if you bring those guys back in, you're going to really push for a more younger generation also because it's going to mold everybody together.
Yeah, you guys said it. He's definitely relatable. He's put his personality out there on display basically like everywhere. You don't just see him on the weekends racing. You also see him like during the week. He's on Twitch live streaming stuff. He's worked on his craft a fair amount. I saw somewhere like the last 5 races, his average finish is like a 9th place. And the biggest reason that I did not have him in the chase to begin with was because I was a little worried about him being a little reckless and throwing some points away. But if he keeps doing this, I mean, obviously he's going to easily make the chase, and a big weekend for him at Talladega. And yeah, that celebration was very epic to see. It's like one of the best celebrations that I can personally remember. I thought he was going to crash the first time when he was heading toward the inside wall, honestly, but he eventually did find a wall, but then he just burned the tires down. And for fans that are worried that that's going to go away, that NASCAR is going to ban it, Steve O'Donnell came out after the race and said that he's all good with it. So I think if he wants to continue to do that, he can. Just really awesome to see a guy like that get his first career win, no matter who it is. But obviously with him, he's become a NASCAR dream, honestly, because for like in terms of like sponsorship too, like Chili's has definitely blown up because of the sponsorship that they've partnered with him. And, you see that and you can wonder, like, again, people might have questioned whether or not he should have signed that extension with Spire Motorsports. But Spire Motorsports is definitely on the rise. They're not definitely plateauing, at least not at this current moment. It doesn't seem like. They even got, like, no offense to this guy, but Daniel Suarez. He's been in the top 16 in points basically all year long. If they got Daniel Suarez in the top 16 in points, and obviously Hocevar just got his first career win, I mean, they're not going to stop spending money and doing everything possible to make the organization look and feel great. And because of that, it's definitely some exciting times if you are a Hocevar fan. Sure, he's not going to be the clean cut guy that some people like to root for, particularly like Chevrolet. Like Chevrolet is always heroes, and Toyotas and Fords are all villains. This guy, I don't think, is a hero because he does ruffle feathers sometimes, but that's good. You need that, and he's definitely one to look forward to, obviously, in the coming years and potentially, obviously, beyond that, but potentially being a championship contender for against like the Hendricks of the world and the Joe Gibbs of the world eventually soon if Spire can figure it out. But another big thing that happened in this crash was, of course, the big one. It happens everywhere. Every time it seems like we go to Talladega. If not, it's very rare if it doesn't. Bubba Wallace and Ross Chastain were up at the front mixing it up, and unfortunately a push gone wrong, and Bubba ended up in the wall, and so did everyone else that was basically behind him. Ryan Blaney in this crash. Bubba Wallace obviously was in this crash. Chastain, what was it? He got away with it. But Logano, just a lot of heavy hitters. So, guys, who do you think was at fault for this? And basically, do you side it if it's just a racing deal, or do you think it was more Chastain or Bubba?
No one. I'm more on the side that this was more of a racing deal. We've seen this happen 100 times at Talladega. We've seen a push just go wrong. The guy being pushed didn't do anything wrong. The guy pushing didn't do anything wrong. It was just a bad push that just went poorly. If I had to blame someone, I'd probably put more of the blame on Ross. But really, I'd say like a racing deal 90%, Ross Chastain 10%. Like I really don't blame Ross for it in general. Now that I look back on it, if you watch the live stream, you probably remember I was pissed. I was mad at the time because I thought Ross did it and it was Ross's fault. But looking back on the replays now, I don't really think it was Ross's fault. It was kind of a bad push, but in general, not to mention this car is a lot harder to push with the rounded ends, so that's kind of an issue too. I just thought this was definitely more of a Talladega issue rather than a driver issue. Now, people who blame Bubba, I'm going to be honest. How? Like, I generally don't know what you see if you blame Bubba. Like, genuinely, I blame Ryan Blaney more than I blame Bubba on that wreck, who was the car behind Ross Chastain. But yeah, I think it's just a racing deal.
I agree with you, Aiden. I mean, we've talked about it for years, and it's how the different manufacturers can get to the back bumper of the car in front of them. Whether that's Chevy to Ford, Ford to Chevy, Chevy to Toyota in this case, it's how are they pushing? How are they able to suck up to the back of the car and be able to push? I think this was just truly a racing incident. We see it almost every year. I don't think it was overly egregious how Chastain was pushing. And usually the guy in second does come out of it scot-free. I mean, most of the time the wreck happens in front of him because he was pushing, but all the catastrophe is behind him. So I think this just kind of chalks up as a racing incident. And, could it have been Bubba a little bit? Maybe. But, I mean, he's just trying to stay on the front of the car behind him. So it's more of a racing incident for me.
So that's going to be a consensus across the board. And yeah, I agree. It was a more racing deal than anything. If you look at back, it wasn't like Bubba even was late for the block. He was definitely right on time with it. He just was waiting for Chastain to give him that push because obviously at Talladega you got to manage the runs if you are gonna try and jump up in front of lanes like that. And he decided he wanted to go up to the middle because the middle had the most momentum possible with Blaney and Logano obviously behind Chastain pushing him. And as soon as Chastain got there and hit him in the bumper, he got him so squarely that it sent Bubba obviously to the right. And, to the right is more cars. And thankfully, he did not flip because Rizzo was obviously in the live stream with us and he was like talking about maybe he like flipped upside down. Now he got air, but he that's all he did. So thankfully no one flipped and thankfully everyone's all right. But definitely a big incident that has definitely brought the points at least from like 8th to 16th, which we'll get into later, closer together. But as for our final topic here, again, I really do not want to be discussing this, but I have to because again, it was a talking point after the race. The fuel saving was still there a lot, and so was the too wide gridlock there at the end. Obviously, again, as much as Carson Hocevar deserved credit for putting himself in position to obviously win that race because he was at the top front row basically at the start stage 3. He basically had to get that because he saved fuel at the end of stage 2 to where he had to take less fuel entering stage 3, and that's how he jumped all those cars. So the same problems persisted in this one as the same thing that we've been seeing over and over again at super speedways. And guys, honestly, what can we even do about this? I really do not. I want to hear you guys' thoughts before I give mine, honestly, but I feel like, it's really just going to be on NASCAR wanting to make drastic changes is what I think.
I think the fuel saving issue is a stage racing issue. I think if we take out the cautions of stage racing, we can have a very different situation with all that. With the fuel saving. I think we're at a point now where stages matter, but take out the cautions. Like, have the stages still count, let them race, but count the points, and then let them just keep going. Because the reason why they're fuel saving is because they know there's a point when they don't have to do that. They know when a caution's going to come out, if that makes sense. So when you know when a caution's coming out, you can measure to a point where it's like, okay, we can pit at this time and not lose any track position and be perfectly fine. And that'll just cause drivers to stretch it to that point. But if you don't have cautions, they're going to keep racing because, well, they don't know when a caution's going to come out. So what's the point of saving? Which you will still get fuel saving, probably more towards the end of the race. But I just think that if you got rid of the stage cautions, it'd be fine. I think NASCAR is scared. They're scared of them training. They're scared of them going single file and just having a train across the top. That's what NASCAR is worried about. They're kind of okay with what's happening because, like, well, at its worst, they start training, which is a concern, I guess. But it's not much better than what we got now. I remember watching the race. I remember we gave our picks on who we think's has a shot to win. I remember thinking like, yeah, Ryan Preece got a shot, and then like not realizing that he's in the third row and he can't do nothing at Talladega. It really feels like no one beyond fourth and back can do anything at Talladega, and it's dumb. Another thing that I saw Dale Jr. propose, they could do, which is more horsepower. Make it so that the cars, if the car is full throttle, it can just pull away from the pack if a pack's half throttle. And like right now, they can't do that. So yeah, that's just based off what Dale said. If there was more to it, I'm sorry. I don't really remember the clip, but yeah, I think those two things, especially the stage cautions.
I'm going to go in a little bit of a different route than what you did, eliminating him. I think you add more. I think you make it to where the stage breaks, they have just enough to make it to the end of the stage, and that kind of eliminates it. You're always going to have it, I think. I don't think that we're ever going to necessarily get rid of the fuel savings, because at any point in time, you're trying to save time on pit road. I don't think that there's necessarily a cold cut way to eliminate it, but I think if you put it into the driver's hands to where they know they can make it the full stage, and I'm against stages, but say that it was 45 laps per fuel run. I can't remember what it was this weekend, but say that you went 45 laps, you would have 4 stage breaks. You may have to stretch it a little bit, but not what we've seen this past weekend. So if I would think that if they went 48 laps, you could make it on 4 stages, run it that way, and see what happens. Give them just enough to be able to make it to the end. You'll have a little bit of savings, but you're able to push for it. And at the end of each stage, you're going to have a lot more racing. You're going to have a lot more pushing, shoving, trying to get those stage points. And I'm going to say for this race, for the super speedways in Charlotte, go ahead and pay out 3 stages worth of points for those races, just to set them apart from everything else if you're going to keep the stages. And that way it pushes for more action at the end of each stage that way, and it may eliminate 75% of the fuel saving.
Well, I saw on Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin. I saw that he said, like, after he got out of his car after the race, he was texting with Steve O'Donnell. He said that you could potentially look at cutting the spoiler off, maybe somewhat. Something to try and get the drag out of the car, which I feel like is the biggest issue, obviously, outside of the fuel saving component. Talking about the other side of it, which is the gridlock lines. Sure. And Rizzo was talking about it, like after the big wreck, obviously less cars are in the race, which means less of a chance to create the third lane. But it's even harder to create the third lane even when you have a full pack of cars, because there's just so much drag on the outside, just in this car alone. And if you jump to the outside and say you only have like 3 cars go with you, as opposed to the 6 to 8 really that might stay in line and not jump to the outside, you run a risk of obviously going to the back. And that's what you kind of saw there in that stage 3 when someone tried to make the outside line work. They just immediately dropped because they had no help. And it's just, more cars are obviously lined up on the bottom, and I guess not the outside, but the middle lane. Yeah, it's obviously really rough to see where super speedway racing is right now currently, because again, and Aiden, you talked about this on Sunday, how the Gen 6, that like late Gen 6 was the best, package we basically had, the best product you had, because you had guys that could make big runs, obviously, and they weren't really obviously fuel saving, and because they knew that they could make big runs with each other and get up from like 8th to 1st in like 2 laps, honestly, if you had the help and support behind you.
I think what killed super speedway racing was the moment in 2019 when Clint Boyer got behind Joey Logano, and they both were running 212 miles an hour and separating themselves from the pack in the October race. I think that was the exact moment where it got killed, because they immediately started reducing the speeds of the car, which, I mean, they still had a few decent races after that, but if I had to pick a point, it was that exact moment in stage 1.
I mean, the executives are all about, obviously, they have been all about trying to limit the amount of horsepower that's been in these machines. It took so long for them to finally adjust and budge on the fact that we needed 750 horsepower on the short tracks and road courses. And even that is obviously still not enough in my opinion, but that's another topic for another day. All right, moving on. We had the O'Reilly race as well at Talladega. Craftsman Truck Series was off outside of obviously ARCA, which, there's really like one big talking point, which we'll get into later. But just talking about the O'Reilly Series, what a race this was from top to bottom. The start to finish was just absolutely incredible. There was obviously 3 wide. There was a lot of passing throughout, and there's just numerous movement. Just basically everything you didn't want to see in Cup is what you want to see in the O'Reilly Series, basically. And what do you know? Knowing the old Kyle Larson disciple Corey Day ends up winning his first race. There's a big talking point of first time winners this past weekend. Guys, what are your thoughts on Corey Day coming through with the victory?
Yeah, like you said, I really like the race. I get I get that the finish was a little bit of a downer. Kind of finished under caution. It wasn't like a close, tight finish where the winner won by 1/1000th of a second. It didn't come down to the tri-oval. But I still really enjoyed this race just simply because this race had everything that you wish the Cup race had. It had movement. It had 3 wide. It had actual side-by-side racing. It didn't really have much fuel saving. It had drivers felt like they had drivers that genuinely wanted to win. But back to the Corey Day thing. Great win for Corey Day. I think I speak for everyone. Even Corey Day said it himself. He did not expect his first win to be at Talladega. I did not expect his first win to be at Talladega. No one expected it. But he still got the win. Nonetheless, was in the right spot at the right time. I know we kind of harped on Corey Day a little bit at the start of the year, but really he's been doing really good this season. It's a good win, not to mention I'm a firm believer in after you get that first win, it comes natural to you after that. Like you get that burden, you get that monkey off your back, and you can just go out there and just win and not be stressed out about when you're going to get your first one because you already did. And now from here on out, you'll be fine. And I think Corey Day can be a really good driver. I still believe that. So I'm just more excited to what this could mean for Corey Day in the future rather than what it means for him right now.
Yeah, I was going to tap into that too. We were really big critics there, and everybody was a Corey Day earlier in the year. And just the first third of the races, look at how much he has grown and developed from week 1 to now. And we knew he had the talent. It's just, was he going to be able to reel it in? And Aiden, I'm like you. I think getting this burden off of his back right now is he may tack on 2 or 3 more for the rest of the season, especially with that junior motorsports and everything that's going through there. They are the elite of the elite in the O'Reilly series. And one of the things about this race that I was happy with is how the field was able to kind of manage Austin Hill and Jesse Love. It's like nobody really wanted to work with them because they knew what would happen if they let them get out front. And this was right place, right time for Corey Day. We know that all the super speedways is kind of that wild card. So, yeah, are we shocked that he won at the super speedway? Yes. But are we really? Because it could have been anybody in that field just being in the right place at the right time. But the confidence level for him and that organization that is behind him and Hendrick that is behind him, that's really going to elevate this kid. And, he's, starting to prove us wrong.
I don't think anyone, obviously, at least I don't think here doubted his talent. It's just that he needed to clean up some of the mistakes he was making, obviously, because if you want to go far in your career, I mean, sure, there are guys that ruffle feathers when they're young, and they have been obviously have successful careers. Think of young Kyle Busch. I remember in 2011, yeah, it was 2011 when he wrecked Ron Hornaday and the trucks, and he got a lot of backlash from that. And obviously, you've seen him obviously carry over success no matter what in the Cup in his entire career up until when he got to RCR, but we don't talk about that. Yeah, Corey Day, he has a lot of support behind him, obviously. You know, Kyle Larson and Jeff Gordon are big believers in his talent, the biggest believers in his talent, and they put him in that 17 car full time this year. And they know it's a good ride, and he knows it's a good ride. And, you know, even though he was rough and feathers, he still has finished in the top 10, I swear, like every single race so far this year, outside of maybe one time. He wasn't because he ended up wrecked out early or something like that. So, yeah, the fact that obviously you said it, Bunny, that, you know, he won at Talladega might not be that shocking considering that we all know that these tracks can produce some wild card winners. Anyone basically has a chance to win a race like this, but you know, it happened to be him, and yeah, he happened to be in the right time, the right place at the right time. And you know, you say that there's no burden, but I just kind of find funny. This is not even about Corey Day, but the fact that the guy that finished second behind him, Sheldon Creed, man, he got his first career win in Atlanta, and he still is racking up second place finishes like it's nobody's business. I swear he's like finished second like 3 more times since that. At least this time he got like the dash for cash or something like that, so he got a little extra money. But anyways, that's besides the point. Corey Day, obviously, tremendous talent, and you know he had 11 starts in 2025, and obviously he's had 11 starts through this year so far, and you can really see the growth. There's tons and tons of potential there, and he's just get better and better. I will say, I don't think Hendrick needs to rush him, obviously, up to the Cup Series anytime soon. I feel like he needs another year at least before you can think about putting him up there still. But, you know, he is producing great results, and he just needs to keep moving on forward. So, they'll look at, again, I said there's no Craftsman Truck Series race to cover, so we're just going to get right into the news. And first big piece of news that we got to talk about is news that broke before the race began on Sunday, and that's Tyler Reddick has signed a multi-year extension to stay at 2311 Racing. We all knew this was probably coming because, again, he's had a tremendous year, obviously, with 5 victories in the first 10 races. He's basically almost like, or 11 races, like he's going about 50% win rate. Guys, what's your thoughts on Tyler Reddick in 2311 finally inking that big multi-year extension?
100% expected, especially after the start he's had. Yeah, I was very interested to start the year. Obviously, it was kind of no secret that this was a contract year for Tyler Reddick coming into the season. There was things with the whole lawsuit that if it wasn't resolved, we could possibly see Tyler Reddick become a free agent. And so yeah, he started. Obviously, lawsuit got settled. He started winning races, and now he's on top of the world. He's, in my opinion, a top 5 driver in NASCAR right now. I think he has been for a little bit now. He's an incredible talent, and he's only going to get better from here. I just kind of expected this. Unfortunately, we don't get to see how much money he's making. I did see a rumor that he could possibly now be the highest paid driver in the garage, which, if that is true, then kudos to him because he does deserve it, in my opinion. Yeah, there's really not that much else to say. It's a good move for Reddick. It's a good move for 2311 to keep him on board. It's just a good all-around move. It's kind of one of those signings we expected. Like earlier this year, Kyle Larson got extended. We already saw that one coming. We already knew it was coming. We already had that bookmarked. I'm really excited for the rest of silly season to take place. I mentioned in a few podcasts ago, I think they were waiting. There was some uncertainty with the charters and everything because of the lawsuit. So I'm excited for silly season this year.
Aiden, before you jump off, do you think that his talent and you said that he was a top 5 driver in the garage. Do you think it's always been there and the equipment has finally matched the driver, or do you think it's a combination of both?
I'm a guy of like raw talent per se. I always thought the talent was there. I mean, we saw him win 2 Xfinity championships with 2 different teams. Obviously, I do believe that equipment can definitely hinder a driver, but it can also help a driver. In Reddick's case, I just thought he had so much talent that he would eventually be in that category per se. I always thought it was a matter of when, not if, with him. Obviously, him going to 2311 definitely helps that. It's a top tier Toyota ride. And we even saw, like, we mentioned how bad RCR is. Now, to be fair, that was a different point of RCR's career. That was a point where they were making decent cars. Kyle Busch even had success with his old ride. Austin Dillon was having his best seasons when Reddick was his teammate. So I understand that was a different point of RCR's ride, but I always thought he was overachieving over at RCR. So I always thought that was there. I always thought he was top 5 talent. I was really excited for him coming through the ranks. I thought he was going to be incredible. I think I even went on to say in 2020 that I thought he'd be the best rookie driver we've ever seen since Tony Stewart or something like that. Obviously, that didn't end up happening, but he still ended up having a great rookie season statistically and a great career so far.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that because I was sitting there thinking about it and I couldn't necessarily find the words that I wanted, but I agree. This is the right move for 2311 and signing him. And I almost think going into this year, originally it was probably only going to be a 2, maybe 3-year deal. But with the start that he's been able to have into this season, they're like, hey, we're putting the pieces together. We're finally coming over the hump. They have been winning races. It's just not been at this level. So whatever they done in the offseason to bring that program up just that much more has really just fit Tyler Reddick. And I think it's a match made in heaven here. So I do like it. I think he's in it for the long haul. And I'd say after these 5 years is up, you're going to see another extension come on. So I think it's the right situation. Bubba, on the other hand, I don't think he has to really worry about going anywhere for much of a long time. But I'm going to say it. He's going to have to pick it up because I think, Bubba and Bubba being Bubba, the jealousy is going to kick in.
Well, even still, I mean, with that jealousy might still being there, I mean, you just gotta appreciate what that 45 group is doing so far this year. Again, he's been making history. He was the first driver to win the first 3 races of a Cup season ever, and then he's now won 2 more races after that. And you think back to obviously over a year ago when he was winless, when the team was still uncertain about whether or not they were going to be able to make it out of the lawsuit, because Michael Jordan admitted himself that if they lost, he was going to fight to make sure that there was going to be equal share opportunity across the board, not just with his team, but he was willing to let his team ride off into the sunset until changes were made. And now obviously they won that lawsuit. Basically, they settled it, and he now has obviously picked up a Daytona 500 trophy. He's the leader in the points. He's been the leader in the points since the first race of the year ended. And he just got a new sponsorship deal in Rockstar. He's now just got a multi-year deal, and everything just is looking up and up and up for Tyler Reddick. I like Aiden. I always saw that he had obviously an immense amount of talent. It kind of shocked me when he won that Junior Motorsports Championship because he won the first race at Daytona. He just kind of was just in the battle. He hadn't really like blossomed until he went to RCR, and that's when he became that multi-time winner. And then obviously he went back-to-back championships. But Homestead just fit his style so much that it was the reason why. That's the reason why he obviously helped him win those championships. But he also needed to do really well. He also needed to be precise running the outside lane, and he did both times. And from there, obviously, he won those 3 races in 2022 with RCR, and then obviously during the midway point of that season, he announced he was going to 2011, and with Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, those guys believed in his talent. Obviously, they feel like they can get the most out of him, and so far this year, they're doing just that. So hats off to Tyler Reddick. Congrats on your extension, and we'll see. In the coming years, how much further along can they go with this partnership, and maybe they can reach even more heights than what they already have. It's hard to do so far when you win 5 races in the first 10, but we'll see. So I guess moving off of a silly season, closing door to another silly season door that's never closed, and that is who's going to get the 48 car for next year. Jesse Love was rumored that he is now part of a group, I would say. That's the quote-unquote front runners for the ride. Now, obviously, we all know that Alex Bowman right now is the current driver of the 48, but, I think this rumor was kind of sparked off what he said after the race, in which case he said that he doesn't have too many more big hits left in him. I feel like people heard that and think that he's going to, potentially like walk away sooner than later. And Jesse Love obviously has been rumored for a while now to begin that potential third legacy ride, but obviously he's still looking for a cup ride. Either way, I just don't think that makes a whole lot of sense to put him in the 48 because they already know they got Corey Day coming up in the next 2 years. So it wouldn't make sense to put in a young driver to then replace a young driver, in my opinion. But guys, what's your thoughts on this rumor?
A buttload of nothing. That's really what I say. Every now and then I feel like, not just in NASCAR, I feel like that's how it is in every sport. There's always just that one rumor that kind of just flies around, and you kind of just sit back and think to yourself, why is this even a rumor? Like kind of deal. Like, I have no seriousness in this rumor. I'm gonna be honest. I think it was just sparked out of a throwaway funny line that Alex Bowman said, and it's like, oh, but Bowman said this and Love is doing this, so if you put them together, they do this kind of deal. It's like, and without actually thinking about it and it making too much sense. Like you said, I don't think Bowman's going to go anywhere, and even if he did, they got Corey Day. Like, I don't think they want Jesse Love. Now, no disrespect to Jesse Love. He's running really good. He's actually above Corey Day in points. Love is 3, Day is 4 in points right now. And not to mention, Love does have the championship. As much as we hated that Connor Zildjian didn't win it, no hate towards Love. He won that championship. That's just how it is. Hate the game, not the player. I just think it's just nothing burger. Like, it's not going to amount to anything. I don't even think this will be a topic next week, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't see much coming out of this. I agree. Corey Day's in the pipeline to be one of the next Hendrick drivers, and that's where I'm foresee this going. If anything, you bring in some veteran that's on his way out for a couple of years, somebody to hold down that stable if Bowman needs to leave. If he needs to leave due to health, I understand that. But I think Bowman's probably good for a couple of years. And though I think he should be out of the car, that's probably not going to happen. And yeah, we'll see Corey Day in a couple of years fill that 48 ride. And yeah, the Jesse Love, he'll end up somewhere. Where that may be is hard to tell right now.
Yeah, I always thought it made more sense for Bowman to get like a 2-year deal because it inks up with Ally because Ally is signed to 2028. And let's be honest here, part of the reason, or 70% of the reason, I feel like Bowman obviously is still in the rise because Ally likes him. He does deliver some decent results, and you saw that this past weekend when he finally got a good result, finishing third. But yeah, this rumor that Love potentially is a front runner, obviously. Who isn't a front runner for the 48? It seems like every single year we always hear rumors about it. I feel like Chad Fincham deserves a shot at it because he obviously led laps at Talladega. That means that he's going to be in the running for that ride. Nah, I'm kidding. But it was cool to see that Chad Fincham got those laps led. I couldn't believe it that he was up there. But anyways, I guess we can move forward with this. And another big piece of news I would say is that broke earlier today is that the O'Reilly series is moving practice and qualifying over to ESPN Unlimited. If you do not have ESPN Unlimited, you unfortunately will not be able to watch practice and qualifying. Now, to be fair, I mean, I consider myself a somewhat of a hardcore NASCAR fan, but even I don't really care all that much about practice and qualifying. But if you do, unfortunately, you're going to have ESPN Unlimited. Otherwise, it's behind another paywall. And the biggest issue, again, I really wanted to bring up with this is the fact that I know NASCAR is at play with the networks that give them the most money. That's all they're about because NASCAR is a business. They need to be obviously producing a lot of stuff. And those networks need to be feeding them lots and lots of dollars. That's why, if they only cared about product quality, they would have moved off of Fox Sports years ago, and Fox in general. But, the O'Reilly series being put on ESPN, I really do not like it. We were praising the CW. We have been praising the CW for being a very good broadcast partner for this series because ratings are going up every single week, it seems like. In this series, on top of the fact that they just produce all around good quality races, both with the cars themselves, the broadcasters, all of it is tremendous work. But putting practice and qualifying behind another paywall, to me, is obviously screwing out some of the NASCAR fans that potentially just really do not want to be going through these hoops and ladders to try and find out where practice and qualifying and what NASCAR content is on, because you got to think outside of the Daytona 500 practice and qualifying that's on Fox, Amazon Prime holds the rights for most of these first half of the year practice and qualifying, and then they go to True Tubu TV or something like that. Something like that. I don't know. I haven't looked up into it too much, but guys, what are your thoughts about the O'Reilly Series practice and qualifying moving over to ESPN?
I understand how it can be kind of annoying. I like to make fun of people who complain how NASCAR is on multiple channels or it's on cable rather than basic TV. There's a reason for that, but I do also understand the frustration that everything is everywhere. I get that. You have to have wait a lot of streaming services just to get through a season. I do understand that frustration. We see it with, this is going to be my best example because I am a football fan personally. If I want to see the Broncos play 4:00 on a Sunday, I have to tune in to either Fox or CBS. If they play on Sunday Night Football, I have to tune into NBC. But if they play in the sorry ass Raiders on Thursday Night Football, I gotta go on Prime. There's a different website I go on, but we're gonna keep that on the down low. You have to go on Prime. If it's on Christmas, you have to go on Netflix. If it's I think they did Black Friday Paramount game for a Bears and Eagles game. Not Paramount, Amazon Prime. It is annoying for sure. Just having to flip through all these different streaming services, and not to mention the issue with having this many streaming services is that the bill racks up. It is starting to be almost as much as cable now. So we are evolving backwards. So that's cool. Anyways, O'Reilly's qualifying and practice being shipped over to somewhere else. It sucks, but also I'm at the same time, I cannot tell you the last time I watched a qualifying or practice session. I'm just gonna be real with y'all. I cannot remember the last time I did that. Maybe Daytona, the Daytona 500. I think last year I saw one qualifying and practice session, and it might have been the Daytona 500. I just don't really watch it. If I do watch a qualifying or practice session, it's because I'm like off on Saturday, not doing anything, and I'm just scrolling. It's like, oh, that's qualifying, and then I'll actually watch it. But I understand the frustration, but at the same time, like, who really cares?
Yeah, I mean, I will say I do catch more qualifying than I probably do practice. So I do see a lot of it. And I get from the business standpoint of why all these networks are doing what they're doing. But it is getting a little ridiculous of the amount that you have to pay for all of the streaming services. It's not necessarily that they're on different channels, different networks, things like that. I can look it up to see where that's at. It's the cost of a viewer that wants to pull all this in that you're having to pay out. Aiden, you said it. It's getting almost as much as cable. And that was what the driving force was for so many years is, hey, cut the cost, go to streaming, cut the costs, go to streaming. Well, you're looking at $5, $8 here, $20 there, and so on and so forth. And I think the majority of it is all sports related. If you're just wanting general TV, yeah, you can go to Hulu or something like that and probably find it a little bit cheaper. But when you're a NASCAR fan, a college football fan, a NFL fan, you've got to have Prime, Paramount, a streaming service like a Hulu, and all this other stuff. If you're a Big Ten fan, you need to have Peacock because they seem to show quite a bit of that. That's kind of where my frustration is. If you just told me that I could pay for a sports package to get all the sports in one through all of these, I would. I would pay $100 a month for all the sports to be in one general platform. And I would be fine with that. But it's not in the cards yet, so we'll see. As far as it going to ESPN Unlimited, I get it. I've got the Hulu, Disney, all that stuff, so I get it through that. I mean, it is what it is to me. I may flip it over there every once in a while. I'll probably watch more of it on my phone. But as far as my standpoint, it's the price that I'm having to pay for all this shit. It ain't where it's at. It's how much I'm having to pay for it.
Yeah, the price obviously is getting outrageous. Outside of obviously, again, it just moving over to ESPN. Disney, as the monopoly that we all know it, continues to get richer and richer, and everyone continues to have to pay to watch these services. And it's just a little messed up. Just a little messed up. Maybe further down the line we'll figure it out. Hopefully, the outrage, from the NASCAR community, because there was a lot. I've seen a lot of people that really do not like the fact that they have to do that. Like they moved it over to ESPN, but again, this isn't, to be fair, this isn't squarely just obviously the racing itself. It's the practice and qualifying that happens before that. So maybe you can have a little pass there. But anyways, moving forward, well, we talked about the Cup Series. We talked about the O'Reilly Series. There was one more series that was at Talladega this past weekend. It was ARCA. And there was one man that was stealing the show, of course, because how could he not? Because he's the biggest personality outside of maybe, Carson Osevar in the digital world now, obviously, because, again, host of our streams, but this guy's built a YouTube channel. It's Cletus McFarland, everybody. He was impressive entire all the way throughout. He led laps. He was in position. He made basically one wrong move, and that's what cost him the win. Unfortunately, he came home in second behind like Andy Jankovic or something like that. I think that's who won the race. That was Andy's first win as well, but just again, first-time winners was a trend throughout the weekend. But guys, what's your thoughts about Cletus McFarland coming oh so close, but it's still an impressive performance nonetheless?
I was wrong. You know, we talked about it a few podcasts ago. I was a little hesitant on what Cletus can do. We weren't the biggest fans of RCR, Richard Childress, saying we'll give him a few rides in the Xfinity Series. I will say I was wrong. He proved me wrong. I'll be the first to admit when I am wrong. So he definitely showed out. He definitely did a lot better than I personally was expecting. I understand people sometimes will say like, oh, it's Talladega, anything can happen. It still takes a lot of skill to race at Talladega. It still takes a lot of skill to run well at Talladega, and that's what he did. This was his first ever Talladega race in NASCAR, period, in any series, and I think he did very well. Ran great, was solid, almost was able to get the win right there at the end. It does also this does genuinely show me that there is something there. There's actually is something there that can be unlocked to be a good NASCAR driver. It's not just a publicity stunt, that he can genuinely race. Now, how deep into the NASCAR pipeline can he go? We're not exactly sure on that, and I'm not going to comment on that here anytime soon until we see more out of him. But I just want to go on and say I was wrong. He ran well, and he deserves all the praise he gets.
I think this, as far as Cletus as a person, I really like this. Cletus for the sport, I really like it. And the ARCA series is where he needs to be right now. And him to come off with a second place finish, that's going to boost his confidence even more than what he already has. But I think that this is a stepping stone in the right direction. It is Talladega. So again, like I said earlier, you have those wild card races. Let me see what you can do on a mile and a half or on a short track. Let's go there. But he went out there. He done the right things. He was smart about the race, and that's an improvement. And I think that's what you needed from him. So can you build off of that? That's my question. Can he build off of this second place and go forward? Give me a couple of top fives. Give me a consecutive few top tens. Let's build upon that. Let's don't get overly confident, go into the truck series or the Xfinity series and do something stupid, because it's still there. I mean, you're like a 15-year-old trying to learn how to drive right now. So let's take it one step at a time and let's see what can happen. But this is great for the sport. Great for the sport. Let's just keep it on the right path.
Yeah, I think NASCAR should also want him to stay in ARCA to learn more and more, because you talked about consecutive top tens. He actually has 2 consecutive top 10 finishes. He finished 6th at Kansas, and then here at Talladega, 2nd. I've been vocal of him needing to learn, obviously, his craft. I talked about it. Young drivers, when they come up, they don't go immediately to the O'Reilly series. They go to ARCA. They go, well, first off, actually, it's a whole system they go through. They got like go-karts, then they go to streets, then they go to stocks, whatever, Legends cars. and then they go to ARCA. But for him, obviously, he jumped in being 28 years old, and he's wanting to live out a dream that he's had for a good while now. It feels right for him to be in the ARCA series because this is a series where he needs to learn, obviously, and grow. And it's better for him, in my personal opinion, because what makes you look better, honestly? You running up front, even if it is the ARCA series, as opposed to running in 33rd, 6 laps down, or when he was in the truck series, when he was 5 laps into at Daytona and he wrecked himself spinning. So honestly, this is the series he needs to be in right now, and NASCAR should obviously be pushing for him to obviously to be in this series and obviously to do well because again, it's a growing process. And if he does turn out to be somewhat decent in the O'Reilly series, and eventually obviously goes out and fulfills his dream of racing the 500 someday, it's just going to get more and more eyes on the sport because, as they keep on mentioning it, he has a tremendous following. We all know that, and more eyes in ARCA than ever before because he's in the race, and his buddy like Squirrel or something like that also is in this series as well. You can take that and build off of it. It's only going to be better for the sport in the long run. And so I know it wasn't the win that he wanted. Obviously, he was having a lot of blast out there. He is very funny. I'm not going to repeat what he said after the race because it is just too hilarious. And it doesn't do me justice to repeat it on here. But the guy definitely has it figured out in terms of being an influencer, a social media star, and hopefully he's finally starting to learn how to maybe drive a race car. And maybe can do that going forward consecutively on some of the tracks that he just hasn't mastered yet. Obviously, you talked about it, short tracks and 1.5 mile tracks. You already got him 6th place finish at Kansas, 2nd place at Talladega. You are seeing the steps. Anyways, I guess that basically covers all the news that I saw around the garage this week. So with that being said, we're going to get into the guess the driver segment. Rizzo is the champion basically of this because he has 3 wins straight up. I know Aiden got a little jumped the gun because he thought I was going to say Johnny Benson, but it was not Johnny Benson. It was Scott Riggs. I can see where
one day be Johnny Benson.
Yeah, it will one day probably be because I might run out of drivers, but it won't be anytime soon. Anyways, again, how this segment works, if you're new, I myself have researched a driver. These guys that are with me, Bunny and Aiden, and if Rizzo was here, it'd be him too. Try and guess from the clues that I give them the driver that I have picked out randomly, even though I have researched this guy quite a bit. So that's how I get the clues. But anyways, let's get forward. Let's get started, shall we? All right. This driver was born in Harlan, Iowa. This driver has a very ironic nickname / name he goes by. This driver started motorcycle driving, but quickly switched back to midgets and sprint cars when he realized that motorcycles were not his strong suit. This driver is considered a journeyman for hire. Essentially, he bounced around from team to team, whoever would give him a paycheck. But, he actually did decent at his opportunities. It's just that he never find that stable home. This driver actually served in the Korean War before he decided to embark on in a racing career. That started in 1955 as his racing career is when it started. This driver's biggest accomplishment was the 1963 Daytona 500. He won. This driver's greatest success, however, in a series was the NASCAR Grand American Series. That's not the top series in motorsports back then. It was something else. It was kind of like the Busch Series, just a little like a level lower, in case you don't know what that is. Speaking of the 500, this driver won the 500 in a Wood Brothers entry because the former driver suffered severe injuries in a test session, and he gave him the opportunity to ride it after he saved the guy's life. This driver won the 1970 and 1971 Grand American Championships. This driver is known as one of the tallest drivers ever in NASCAR history. He stands at 6'5", 270 pounds. This driver was honored as one of the NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers and 75 greatest drivers. And to wrap it up, okay.
Buddy Baker. No. Wait.
No.
Okay. I'm going to spend it. Is it Buck?
Incorrect. No.
Okay.
And sadly, my final clue, this driver died in a crash at Talladega in 1975.
I know exactly what driver it is. I can't think of his name because of that last bit. I think I know I know the guy because I know the story. Bobby Isaac was driving at Talladega, and something told him, like some angel. This is his story. Some angel or someone over the radio. He thought someone over the radio told him, "Pull over the car. Something bad's about to happen." So he pulled over. He got out of the car. They told him no one said anything, and like in that race, the dude died. And Bobby Isaac never raced again after that. I think that's the race, and I think that's like, yeah. I can't.
I'm just going to throw a random ass name out there because I'm not sure if it's. I'm going to say like Red Farmer.
Red Farmer is incorrect.
How many guesses we get? I'm down.
You get three. Bunny has 2 left if he wants to use them, and you have 1. I can give you another clue if you want it.
Yeah, give me another clue.
All right. This driver's name starts with a T.
All right. Well, that's. I'm glad I didn't spend my last guess then.
Starts with a T.
His first name or his last name?
It's his nickname, but it's the name he goes by.
Okay.
I'm like
it's not. Wait, hold on. It's not something dumb like you're like his name is and you're just saying T, right? No, it's okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Nah, it's not. It's not the.
Yeah. All right.
I've heard this story. I'm like Aiden. I've heard the story about it, but I don't remember who it is. And I'm trying to think of a weird nickname.
I want to call it weird. It's just that it's ironic.
Ironic, like how Fireball Roberts,
he's
nickname is Fireball, and he died in a fireball.
No, not like that. It's like he's just completely different. But it's like think of his stature, his height. Think of that. That's all I can give you.
I'm thinking like Tank something.
I'm thinking like Tiny Tim. It's just like. Oh, golly. Curtis Turner.
That is incorrect.
All right, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, tap me out. I'm good.
All right. So once again, Rizzo is the only one that has been able to guess these drivers correctly outside of me twice stumping Aiden and Bunny. This week, the honor belongs to Tiny Lund. That's his name. Five-time Cup winner. Again, Daytona 500 winner. And again, it's ironic. The reason why I said it is because, again, he's 6'5", 270 pounds, and his nickname is Tiny. For some reason, he went by that nickname. For some reason, people gave him that nickname. That's what made it ironic.
I had 2 names in my head that I knew was incorrect. That was Dick Trickle and Hut Strickland. For some reason,
I thought Richard Brickhouse for a second, but then you said the T thing.
Yeah. I knew I had to give you guys a couple more clues. I just didn't want to give it squarely away, obviously. If Rizzo was here, maybe he would have gotten it. I don't know.
Also, anyway, I said both the Bakers because I could not remember who was the older one. Bud's the older one.
I should also state that I will never repeat drivers. So I've already done like Buddy. I did Buddy Baker.
Yeah.
I will not repeat drivers in this. So
I kind of figured you would, but like I said, I could not remember who was the older one. I thought you were just going to go with.
Yeah, But yeah, anyways, that's a great segment. We move forward, and how we move forward with this is we look back on our picks, or scratch that. Never mind, scratch that. We got to talk about our awards first. So, top shelf and hangover of the week. Guys, I guess I got to start first since I'm the host. I'm not going to take the easy guy. I'll leave that for somebody else. I don't feel like I can do it justice discussing it. So I'm going to give because my brother here needs something because, again, he's a fan of him. Alex Bowman coming home in third place. Finally, a good run, even if he had to get it because of track position purposes. He needed a good run. That team needed a good run. He finally got it. Because I mentioned this entire year, outside of him obviously missing the 4 races he did because of vertigo, that 48 car has been out to lunch every week, back in 25th, crashing out. It seems like every week. Finally got a good result here at Talladega, and hopefully they can carry it forward to some much-needed top 10s. I'm not saying a win, obviously. Top 10s would be definitely appropriate, and hopefully can steer the ship. Guys, who's your top shelf going to?
One's going to be a little bit broad, but I'm going with first-time winners. ARCA with forgot the dude's name. I'm going to be honest. Shoot,
Andy Jankovic.
Andy Jankovic. All right, Andy Jankovic, Corey Day, and Carson Hocevar all getting their first career wins at Talladega. Just overall, if needed your first career win, Talladega is the track to do it. And the weekend did not disappoint if you wanted to see a first-time winner. So, yeah, congrats to all three of those guys. Got the big win.
I'm going to give it to a couple of guys here for the finish that they had in the Cup race. And that's Zane Smith, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Gregson, and Kyle Busch. Especially Busch. With the season that he has had this year, and with all of the stuff that is going on around him, new crew chief, all of this stuff he was able to stay out of the melee and get a top 10.
That's some excellent picks there, guys. You just reminded me. We never did discuss Kyle Busch getting a new crew chief, I guess. Technically, it's not even new. It's the crew chief he had from the last 5 weeks of last year. But anyways, I can sum it up.
Next week.
Not even that. I feel like we can sum it up. I can sum it up with all our thoughts here because I feel like we all share the same sentiment. RCR has incredibly short leashes for their crew chiefs, but yet we all know the roots, the issues of the team run deeper than that. So this is just a Band-Aid, in my opinion. Could he get some better results? Maybe. But, RCR got to look internally, man. You got to look deep, too. Anyways, so from top shelf to hangover, I'm going to give it to Brad Keselowski. Now, unfortunately, it's not his fault. Unfortunately, he got caught up in that big wreck. He was just in the pack and happened to get caught up in it, but he finished 40th at a track where he obviously is the most active time winner at it. And I honestly was considered picking him. And, well, I guess it didn't matter because I finished last anyway. But, he had some good momentum going. And RFK has obviously been stupendous at restrictor plates. You saw that, or super speedways. You saw that with Busher there. He finished second. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the win. He was kind of just like out of numbers. Basically, he admitted so when Eric Jones, my guy that I picked, got wrecked out because it was just him and a bunch of Chevys. So it's a numbers game that he was unfortunately behind. But yeah, Brad Keselowski finished in 40th. Unfortunately, you're going to be my hangover of the week. I don't think this is going to like turn you back into 2025 first half Brad, where he was like finishing really bad. Obviously, he's been off to a tremendous start this year, but yeah, got to give it to Brad. Coming home in last place, that is definitely quite a hangover.
For mine, Cup Series racing at Talladega, like as a whole, like we kind of harped on it earlier, how much better Talladega racing was in the late stages of the Gen 6 car, especially 2019, man. After this is over, I'm going to rewatch the October 2019 Talladega race. Not only is that an incredible race to watch, but my favorite driver wins it. So like it double whammy. It's cool. Anyways, yeah, Cup Series racing at Talladega overall, not to mention Xfinity and ARCA just put on such a better show than they did. It's almost a shame how far it's fallen. Honestly, we're at the point now where if we go to a Talladega race, I'm more excited for the Xfinity Series and ARCA Series than I am for the Cup Series, and that's not a good thing.
So mine is going to be Bubba Wallace. Finished 36th this week, and 3 out of the last 5 races, he's finished 34th or worse. This was the guy that was up front, second in the points. Now he's back in 12th, and he's 208 points out of the lead right now. And he's got 1 top 5 on the year and 5 top 10s. Bubba's struggling. He had a good run at Kansas. He had a just outside the top 10 at 11th at Bristol, but he's kind of hitting that downward spiral. He's losing points. He's dropping back a little bit, and Bubba's going to have to pull it back together. 3 finishes out of the last 5 races of 34th or worst. Give me Bubba Wallace.
That's some good picks for the top shelf, and obviously some unfortunate hangovers from some guys that hopefully they can get over real soon. All right, now we can get into our picks. Bunny, I know you have them. Unfortunately, well, I'm last, so that's unfortunate.
Yes, so this week, Zachary, you finished 4th with Eric Jones. Aiden finished 3rd with Noah Gragson. Rizzo had Austin Cindric. He finished 8th, and I won the week with Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
It was looking good for me. A little bit there. I remember Bunny you admitted so when you said it was either going to meet me getting my first win of the year or you continuing the trend of finishing last or first. And then after that, he said that Hocevar kind of came down into Jones, and unfortunately he ended up wrecked. And well, now we're going to the worst track that I consider in NASCAR in Texas. And to be fair, I don't feel comfortable picking any driver. Honestly, if I could, I'd pick turn 4 because I feel like that's the turn that absolutely wins no matter what. Because you always see cars spin no matter where they're at, the lead, 20th, whatever. But I can't do that. I got to pick a driver here. So with that being said, this race is known to bring some chaos, and this guy can basically only win when there are chaotic races, it seems like. He's a past winner of Texas very recently. And I know Penske's 1.5 mile program leaves a lot to be desired. But I can't pick this guy on a short track, even though Penske's strong there, because I feel like his teammate's better than him there. So I want to save his teammate. So give me Joey Logano. I know it's been rough for him, but we'll see. I'm banking on it. And again, who really cares, man? No one wins really, unless you're like really looking for some chaos to happen. Then I guess you do.
Okay, with that being said, Joey Logano will now flip across the front straightaway. Anyways, this is my turn. I do want to point out Never once finished last yet. I have not finished last at all this season, so kudos to me. I'm just that good. I know. Hold your applause till the end of the tour. Anyways, I'm going with a driver that, not a winning history, but a history at this track. He almost won here last season. He had one of the most insane crashes I think I've ever seen in my life here. That left many people thinking he was dead. He was not dead. He walked out of there just fine, actually. I'm going with Michael McDowell at Texas.
You have Rizzo's pick.
No, I did not
Okay.
ask him. I did not ask him.
Okay.
Someone
We'll get
else
it
asked.
later.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
I don't think you're gonna pick it up.
Nah, hold up.
Oh my god.
Nah, hold up.
I'm gonna send him a snap.
It's like the Jeopardy thing.
Yeah.
I forgot how long Snapchat's ringtones go on for. Yeah, I gave up. All right.
All right. So with that, we'll get Rizzo's pick in here after the show. I am going with give me Willie B this week. I still
All
got
right.
a couple of big hitters here.
Yeah, I do as well, but you know, I need him because you know I haven't won again. I haven't won. Why are we in this? Because we need to. You know, you need to win. And as Ricky Bobby would say, you ain't first, you're last. And well, I guess I'm always last. So, all right. Anyways, now that we can get into the predictions segment for this, well, not predictions, but expectations, I should say, for this race. And well, guys, I think you guys know how I feel about this racetrack. I really cannot stand it. I think it's the worst track in NASCAR. I think we should stop going here, honestly, because I feel like Texas already has this one race, and that's COTA. But unfortunately, you know, money purposes, Texas Motor Speedway does shell out a lot of dollars to for NASCAR to come here, because outside of them, you really ever see IndyCar or any other series come to this track, so they need NASCAR to be here. But unfortunately, I do not enjoy the racing here. It's really one-dimensional, maybe two-dimensional if the inside line is really working, but outside of that, it's usually a lane above, and that's when everyone just runs it. And again, I said if I could, I'd pick turn 4, because turn 4 is where all the chaos happens. There's that dreaded bump that's over there that always spins these cars out no matter what. And, you know, I mean, maybe the waxing crescent theory is going to work, because if you don't know the waxing crescent theory, it is when a race is on and there's a waxing crescent moon like the night before, there's going to be more grip on the track potentially, and that's the case that's going to be this weekend. But we'll see. But again, my expectations for this race, very low. Could be chaotic, but I really do not like chaotic like that. I like chaotic good. This is kind of like chaotic bad in a bad way. So if your driver's out in the lead, send a prayer for them, because they might spin out entering turn 4 by themselves for no reason. But anyways, guys, that's my little ramble on about it. What are your thoughts about Texas Motor Speedway?
Not good. I kind of feel the same way. I think it's the worst track on the NASCAR circuit. It's really kind of here for chaos, per se. There's like you said, there's turn 4, and there always seems to be that one big. They kind of do have a mini big one every time we come to Talladega. I mean, every time we come to Texas, per se. So that happens sometimes. I can't wait for this track to get nuked. This hosted in my opinion, the worst NASCAR race in history with the 2022 All-Star race, that whole fiasco. And again, I harp on this every time I talk about that race. You want to know how bad I think the race was? My favorite driver won. And I think it's the worst NASCAR race of all time. You realize how many terrible races I've seen my favorite driver win, and I was like, you know what? I don't care. My guy won. I sat through the 2021 Michigan race in person. It was terrible, but my favorite driver ended up winning, so that was like the greatest day of my life. Okay. Yeah, that Texas race that can't fix it. It was that bad. That Texas race was that terrible. So yeah, Texas just it's not good. It hasn't been for years now. It's terrible. It's just bad. Like just get it off the schedule.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Texas, but I also don't look forward to Dover, and I do not like Pocono. I know you guys are totally against Texas,
This
and
bozo
it's
still
going to be a
hates
shit
Pocono in
show.
2026.
Do what?
This bozo still hates Pocono in 2026.
I've just always despised Pocono. I really, really have. But yeah, I don't expect much. I expect a little bit of chaos here and there. It's going to be a shit show of a race. It's just another race on the schedule that we're going to forget about come the end of the season, and it's a filler race.
Tell me about it. When if I didn't have such a strong memory, I mean, I might have forgotten that Joey Logano ended up winning. So last year's race, I think it was last year's race. Yeah, I forgot that he won Atlanta that one year too. And it's just like one-off races that Logano won, that got him in the playoffs, and then obviously you guys know what happened from there. I don't need to discuss it any further. But anyways, we don't have any questions from the chat, do we, or anything like that? All right. So honestly, that should wrap things up. Unless you guys have any final thoughts, anything at all that you want to say, get off your chest. Does not.
Viva la revolution.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's going to do it, obviously, for another episode of Moonshiners Racing, presented by Depot Street Sports. I've been your host, Zachary Kendall, and I've been joined with Aiden and Bunny. And unfortunately, again, Rizzo was not here with us, so we could not hear his dialogue about how potentially he almost won again because Cindric came back and whatnot, because he kept making that a point of emphasis that, guys, don't count me out. But he did not win, and he's not here. So been an enjoyable experience recapping Talladega with you guys, and thanks for everybody that tuned in to this. And you'll catch us next Wednesday here again on the Moonshiners Racing, presented by Depot Street Sports, when we are discussing all things of Texas and getting you set for action at the Glen. That's right, Watkins Glen is early in the year this year. So we'll see you from there, and take care.